Hi! Look at these hands. I'm Chris.
And I'm not Chris.
Well done. This is Lucy. Some of you might know from other videos and bits of podcast nonsense. There's not been anything on this channel for a little while, because I've been busy with other stuff and this, that and the other, but we've been marathoning. I mean, not physically, look at us eating chocolate while recording a video, but we've been marathoning. And, yeah, so we've been watching films and stuff over the last few years, but recently we decided to marathon Doctor Who from the very beginning. And I say we, but I actually mean you. You decided to do this. What the hell possessed you to say, hey, our next thing should be 7 billion episodes of something?
Okay, this is soppy, but this is something that's really important to you and really important in your life.
Oh.
And I just thought, yeah, I like the newer series, but I've never delved into the deep, which is Doctor Who. And so I thought, hey, you love it so much, what is it you love about it? So let's have a look. And I love seeing how passionate you are about things and how excited you get about things. And you get super excited when I get excited about things that you like. So it's purely selfish reasons. I just want to see you being happy with me. I just want to know that you like me. Oh. Like me.
Oh God, okay. Wow. Whoa. For those who are thinking right now, looking at this going, why is this all close-up? This is just the style I'm choosing, because the focus is on the stories. This is basically a podcast, but there's some visuals for those of you who want to look at stuff as we go. So, hi, these are our hands, and these are our drinks, and that's little Billy Hartnell, because that's what you meant when you said watch it all. A lot of people would have assumed, if someone said, let's box at Doctor Who, that you would have meant start with the 2005 series, but what you meant was, let's start in 1963.
Yeah.
So, for those who are listening to, like, 9 is 10, excellent podcast, it'll totally be linked at the end of this, you know what my history is with Doctor Who. I talk about it a lot in that podcast in terms of when I got into it. What was your first encounter with Doctor Who?
I knew you were going to ask me this question. So, I knew that my mum and dad liked it.
Yeah.
And my dad watched it as a kid, and he was one of those scaredy cats that would hide behind the sofa when the Daleks came on. And so I always knew it was a thing.
Yeah.
And then I saw it every so often, like Tom Baker's Story. And I always thought, oh God, Dad's watching Doctor Who again. And then...
Really? You were already that kind of like, ugh.
Well, yeah, I was one of those people like, oh, it's popular, I hate it.
Really?
Still.
You thought it was popular?
Yeah, well, I don't know why. It hadn't started again. So
it's because it wasn't a Disney movie and your dad had control of the TV, that's why.
Well, I did not just live off Disney.
You did, though.
I already have a Disney joke in my head, so I'm just not going to... Okay.
You can be a bit louder, it's okay.
I might not be loud.
You're being really quiet.
Am I? Sorry.
It's a podcast, it's an audio medium.
I'm a normal person, so this is how normal people speak.
Wow. So, as a normal person, you thought Doctor Who was crap, and then what changed your mind?
No, I didn't think it was crap. I just thought it was one of those things that, you know, adults talked about, thus it was boring.
Oh, okay. I want to go back to the 90s, to this apparent pack of adults you were spending time with that all talked about Doctor Who.
My parents are really cool as well.
They are. Lou's parents are amazing.
They are amazing.
Shout out Graham and Gwen.
Oh yeah. No. I don't mean it was boring, but I would sit there and watch it because I had to, because that's what was on TV, and I was too lazy to get up and do it.
So probably the UK Gold repeats then, that's what your dad was digging into.
That's what it was, yeah.
When did you change your mind? Was it when you were younger, or was it when the new series rocked up?
When the new series rocked up. Because Mum and Dad were sat there watching it, and I was thinking, what is this tripe?
Wow.
No, just because I was a moody teenager. And
stick around, guys. She does like it.
Anything.
She does like it.
No, this is how much has changed, though. And they were watching it, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. This. Oh yeah, this is really good. What is this? It's Doctor Who.
Doctor Whem.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Whom.
Doctor Whom. No, that's a different show.
The story of a pregnant doctor. Just get up to shenanigans.
And then after that, it just kind of blossomed from there, really.
Okay.
And then, but in like a casual way, not in a...
Yeah. I mean, you enjoyed it. I mean, you enjoyed it to the point where it became a tradition for a few years when we were going out during college.
Courting.
Where I bought you the box sets.
Yeah.
There's like
but we
Christmas
box set
every stuff.
Christmas.
Which you weren't just being nice, were you? You actually wanted them, right? Oh God,
No,
was it halfway house? Don't do it.
You spent so much money on those. No.
Gwen Cooper action figure, all that good stuff. You lost a gun at uni.
I did. I hoovered it back to.
Oh my god! I didn't know that.
It was a Henry Hoover, so it was just irreplaceable.
You don't want to dissect Henry Hoover.
No, absolutely not.
But you do want to dissect Doctor Who because, in case you can't tell from the title of the description, as we've box setted, we've decided we're going to chronicle our thoughts. Some stories of Doctor Who I've never seen before. I've got them, picked them up, and I've just not sat down and watched them yet. There's I think there's 7 of the DVDs that I don't have, so there's still 7 stories that we need to get hold of. Oh yeah, oh god. Every now and again Amazon knocks them down to £4, £5, £6, and I just buy 3 in a go.
My family get him Amazon vouchers for Christmas just so he can buy Doctor Who DVDs. Yeah,
and finish the collection. If the camera was angled upwards, you'd see them all. But you can see some of them here, specifically Series 1 of Doctor Who. 1963, November 1963 to September 1964.
I didn't realise...
-1 story, but we did watch a reconstruction and we will get into that.
I didn't realise that there were so many episodes to a story.
So when you went into this going go on, let's marathon it, were you assuming it would be 8 stories, maybe I don't know, 4 hours of telly total?
Yeah.
Not realising it'd be about 10 hours of television.
I'm thinking about it. Why did I not wonder why there were so many DVDs?
I mean, again, that's 1 series.
Oh my god.
-1.
That's crazy.
So, what we're going to do is just basically share some general thoughts. We've come out the back of watching these as of this recording. We finished The Reign of Terror last night. So we're just going to chinwag a little bit about it from the perspective of somebody still sort of discovering it but knowing a lot of it, and someone who's only ever seen, I think out of these you'd seen none of these, had you?
None of it.
No, for some reason I thought Unearthly Child, but no, you've
seen clips and stuff.
You've seen reconstructions of it as well from the Adventure in Space and Time, things like that. So let's start with stars we mean to go on, number 1, an Unearthly Child, if it'll stand up there. We got a lovely little treat there. First Doctor Who story. We made a mistake when we started watching this, didn't we? Well, we didn't. The DVD did, because we hit play all, and for some reason, because that was what was weird about it. When you hit play all on the Unearthly Child DVD. By the way, we're not sponsored by any BBC place or whatever, but if you do want to buy these, they're available from respectable, retailers. Blah blah blah. The first 3 come in a box set. Technically, the first 4 because there's a reconstruction on there.
Are they putting it on Netflix?
I think it has been on not Classic Who, but I definitely knew who's been on Netflix. And I know Classic Who has been on American Netflix at some point, or the first 3 or 4 years of it. It ebbs and flows. Twitch recently, of course, been doing the big stream, which started just after we started marathoning. And there's no way we could watch it that way as a marathon, because there's no way we could dedicate 6 hours a night to have it on in the background or whatever, because based on how we're working and everything. So we're taking it slow, but for everybody who's enjoyed the Twitch stream, now you can relive that thing you watched 4 weeks ago because it happened all in one night. But here we are. We click play all. For some reason on the DVD, the first thing to play when you click play all is the pilot. Not the first episode, the pilot that Sidney Newman rejected and said, shoot it again.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. We were watching it and you were kind of pulling a face.
Yeah, it felt odd to me.
This is weird.
It
and
felt
I'm just going
odd.
along with it yeah, it's great. And
it was just certain shots are a little too long, and it's obviously they had to save money and time in those days. 1 take was sort of the average. You had to get it all in 1 take. Second take,
that is very obvious.
If there was a big cock up, a second take. And the pilot is clearly shot on a single camera in a way where they try not to break the take once. It's more like a play, but they try to still do some elaborate shots. Waris Hussein directed the pilot in the first story, and he sort of it's just kind of odd. It's really odd, close up on Barbara in the classroom, and pulls away and goes to make a close up on Ian, but there's that natural pause there. And
that must have just been really weird for them.
Yeah, well,
a giant camera in them.
Jacqueline Hillen and William Russell are trying their best to obviously keep it natural, but it's just a little. It's like when there's a canned audience applied to an American sitcom without it being in front of a live studio, and they have to sort of naturally leave pauses for the applause. It must be so strange in terms of performing that. I've seen a couple of sitcoms filmed live.
Have you?
Yeah, with an audio.
What, in
Media City? I just popped in and had a watch.
What the hell? We lived in Media City together. Why did you never take me to these?
Used to work nights.
Oh.
Yeah. So I do that, and it feels natural when there's an audience there because the audience are laughing. But obviously without that, it feels odd. And the pilot sort of paused and stilted. The Doctor's very very sort of snappy in the
mean.
pilot. Yeah.
He's mean.
And that's what threw me up. Once we got to him, I was like, this feels odd. So, you know, we carried on, and then immediately episode 1 starts playing, and I'm like,
Hey?
what? And we realised. But it was kind of worth it.
It was.
Like, what struck you the most when it came
How different Barbara was. Not Barbara, sorry, Susan.
Barbara and Ian are pretty defined from the start, really. But Caroline Ford plays it really alien in that first one. She's very monotone and quiet, and
very strange.
And then in the actual one, she plays it more like a teenage girl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
who is still strange, but not like I am a teenager sort of strange.
The way she was talking about the music in the pilot was a bit like, oh, this is really odd to watch. And then in the actual first episode, she acted like a teenager and got excited and made it out when Ian knew who it was.
So, what do you think of the story overall for Unearthly Child? Because I always argue with this that the first episode is 20 minutes of brilliant television, and it completely it completely sells you on the premise and the tone. And it's whimsical and strange and odd, and then you get whisked away, and it ends with that brilliant shot of the desert land and that shadow approaching. You're like, oh, what's happening? And then it's 3 episodes of, oh god, these cavemen are so boring.
So long.
I think the actors are trying their best, but it's like it's definitely an example of a story that needs to be shorter to be interesting. But that first 20 minutes of the hour and a half that it is so good. You're like, oh, I'm going to stick with it and see what happens.
I honestly can't remember what happened in every episode.
Well, I asked you last night, and I was like, can you remember the ones we watched? And you went, yeah, the first one, there's the junkyard, and then they went to... And you started naming places that were clearly like from the Keys of Marinus. And it was like, not yet, they're not there yet. And you were like, and I was like, the cave of... You went, rocks? The Cave of Wonders. Filled with treasures.
Never found that one.
No, they never really did.
Never found that.
So, before we move on proper, we'll only stick with Unearthly Child a bit because it can talk to death, really. But let's talk about the supporting cast of Zar, her, Old Mother, Cal, and Hog. Memorable characters, eh? They're alright.
Well, just to go back to that first episode.
Yeah.
You asked me what I thought and then didn't let me answer.
Well, that's because I am a rambler.
Yes, you are, darling. And I would say that at the time, it was probably quite scary. Because you're 2 Earth people that you've just gone to try and help a child that you think is having problems and issues. And then you go and you get trapped in this box that you don't understand is bigger on the inside with the people that you don't know. You're suddenly whisked away. And then there's that creepy shadow. I imagine that would have been quite scary because there was nothing like it at the time.
And also the fact that Barbara's like pleading with her grandfather to like, no, just leave them alone. We'll go. Susan. And he's like, no, sorry, so Susan.
This is getting difficult.
No, Susan's pleading like, we just leave them alone, let them go. Yeah. Like we'll move on. And he's like, no, they've seen too much. And you can tell he's got no idea what he's going to do. He's just like, I've got to just take them away. They'll tell somebody. And Susan's making a very good point. She's like, no, we'll just go. No one will believe them. It will be fine.
We have nobody to tell.
So we'll talk more about the Doctor as we go on. But Ian and Barbara. This was your introduction to Ian and Barbara. You've not seen any other Ian and Barbara story. What do you think of Ian and Barbara?
I love Ian and Barbara.
Barbara Wright and Ian Chessington World of Adventures.
Barbara is absolutely right.
Hey!
Zing. I've a bit of a difficult time with companions because sometimes they're so annoying.
Name a couple that you can think of that
Clara
piss you off. Yeah.
Cannot stand. I can't even look at her. You know.
And that sucks because it's like I'm sure Jenna Coleman would probably be in something else where you'd go, oh, she was really good.
I would love to watch Victoria, but I can't because I just can't do it.
You see Clara
because I just see Clara. She was. I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to it, obviously.
In 3 years.
But no, she's so irritating.
Yeah.
There was that first episode with the flambe or whatever it is.
Oh, the souffle. Oh, she wasn't Clara at that point. She was Oswin, and she was kind of charming and weird.
Yeah, and then the one where she's a nanny.
The Snowman, which I think that's the best version of Clara.
I liked her in that, and then she became like a full-on companion. It was like, oh, this is different. Or not in a good way. No, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I have to turn it off.
But Ian and Barbara.
But Ian and Barbara are way on the other end of the spectrum.
Do you think it's because it's their story?
They have backbones.
Yeah. Oh, God, there's that bit in Edgy Destruction that you keep quoting, where the Doctor is that because we'll get to Edgy Destruction, but like in Edgy Destruction, obviously they're really there's all the infighting and all the paranoia and everything, and the Doctor has a go at it, and she just gives it straight back to him with.
Does. How dare you!
I
love her. Oh
yeah,
God, she's amazing.
The moment that happened, you went, "Yeah, girl!"
Yes!
It was brilliant.
They're amazing. They're strong. They're independent, and
they don't need no spaceman.
And I would say that they're more like the main characters than the Doctors.
Well, that's what's good. It's Russell T Davies took a leaf out of that book with 2005 with Rose, because the show was about Rose. Meeting the Doctor, and in this case it's Ian and Barbara looking out for their pupil and getting pulled into this story. I'd argue the Doctor isn't really the main character of the series at all.
No.
It's very much theirs, and then it's an ensemble piece. But okay, so Unearthly Child, what do we think?
I liked it.
You liked it?
Most of it.
Episode 1 specifically. Yes. Thank you, Unearthly Child. You were a laugh.
There was I've got to say, there's a lot of killing.
How many killings?
But
black and white.
being somebody that has only really seen the newer series where there isn't much death, really.
Well, not in the last 5-6 years.
Anyway.
There's a video essay about that on 5 fans. You should check it out.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Written by a really clever guy.
Is it? Oh,
yeah. Well, speaking of killings, there are none in the next story, despite who features in it, and that is. Boom, the Daleks. Look at a little Billy there on the front. And before we get to the obvious, the Doctor. What do you think of him as the series progressed? Because in this, he's a git.
He's a grumpy man.
You realise at the end of Unearthly Child...
He's a grumpy Indian fishwife.
He's a moody midnight turtle. He realises at the end of the last one that, I should probably take them back. We've just nearly died. But then,
this was a bad idea.
Then they end up here, and on an unidentified planet, and they're like, oh, and he's like, I want to explore. Oh, I'm going to bullshit, pretend that we need something from the thing. So he takes the the mercury from the whatever it is component and BS's. What's it from? Oh, he just says, the fluid link's running low on mercury, so he takes it out.
Classic.
Sure. But this is where the story comes to play. Barbara gave a bit, not too much, but a bit of info in the last story, being the history teacher, and Ian, as the science teacher, starts to tie into the story this time round, because it's set on a distant planet. We learn about radiation, and we learn about fuel, and things like that start to come into play.
Science.
What did you think when you first saw the Daleks? How do you think that was handled? Because you started to suspect. I didn't tell you what the story was, did I?
No.
And as they looked at the city, you turned to me and you went, "Is it Skaro?" And I went, "Holy shit, maybe." Knowing full well, yes, it is.
And you're not very good at your poker face when it comes to me.
Nah. That was my poker face.
As soon as I said that, I knew exactly what it was.
Might be.
You can't hide from me.
So, I know I'm sat from you. What did you think of the Daleks in their debut story?
I loved them.
Pretty freaky, right?
They were freaky, but also kind of hilariously adorable.
They have way too many.
Their voices were just amazing.
First one. They have way too many dialogue scenes to themselves in this first story, don't they? There's so many scenes of just them talking. It's not the smartest decision, guys, to let them have all of the dialogue.
No.
But,
I like them. I like the way they look. I mean, whoever came up with the look of the Daleks, where did they get that look from?
I can't remember the fella's name now. But,
it's so unique. And so
Raymond Cusack.
He's slowly sliding off the DVDs.
Ooh.
He's got no brakes.
Well, no, it's because he's powered by static electricity, you see, and there isn't any on here, so he should. That's an interesting take on them. So they are limited to that city. They can't live outside the city, which is the whole point, isn't it? They've been irradiated, and they survive in these machines, and they're against the Thals, who are all dressed absolutely fabulously. And live
they look like something from Logan's Run.
They do. Bloody hell, yes. That's nailed it. I thought that before, but you're right.
And all the women are gorgeous, all the men have muscles and are fabulous. I bet they're all blonde and tanned and oily.
Beg your pardon?
Am I going into this too much?
A little bit.
So.
Again, it's a bit long, when 3 episodes are spent sweating in a room, looking upset with each other. But then you get those really nice scenes like where they first bring the Doctor out to consult with him. And he really, like, you see that he has got a backbone. He's not just an arsehole. He's going to stand up to them. What do you think of the Daleks, of the story? The entire thing. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I liked the peril. Like, it was genuinely...
There was a lot of threat. No one gets, like, killed in this. But, then apart from that Dalek that they shut down, then that's done brilliantly.
Yeah, it is.
Where they get the cloak and they pull out the mutant.
Oh.
And they make a thing of Ian and the Doctor see it, and they basically say to Barbara and Susan, like, no, get back.
Yeah, that's like...
They pull the thing out and they move it. They get in the Dalek, Ian gets in the Dalek and uses it as a thingy.
And then that
last shot... No, it's still alive, because remember the last shot, the camera pans back, and that, like, claw... Spooky claw! Spooky crafts starts to
There's
creep
so many
out.
jokes in here that
That's
people
great.
understand.
SNL, Vincent Price, look it up. How do you think that these guys are going to come back into it? Because you know full well, I mean, not to spoil it for you, but the Daleks might come back once or twice after this.
No.
How do you think they're going to do that, considering they can only survive in the city?
I don't know how to watch it.
Oh, we will, and you only got 2 stories, so you have to find out.
I did not realise that they came into it so soon.
Yeah, second episode. And that it's believed that kind of cemented the success of the show, really. Like, the first serial really, after it, got a repeat ahead of the second episode, because it was interrupted the week before, the first episode of Unearthly Child's ratings were damaged a bit, because ITV was reporting on something called the JFK assassination. So...
Well, who cares about that?
How?
I take that back.
So... Enjoyed the Daleks. It's believed that was the thing that then made people go, this is great, we want to watch more.
I really liked that Susan had a good element of innocence in that, because she ran out and she keeps doing this, she needs to stop. This
is going to get on your wick as we go on.
She just runs out of the TARDIS and it's like, oh god.
Oh, Susan.
I blame Susan for everything.
In the world?
Bloody Susan. But she runs out and she grabs that flower, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, she's a kid.
Speaking of bloody Susan, Edgy Destruction, our only 2-part of this series, nice and simple, a bit of filler in the sense that it was all shot in one set. It's just a story of everyone going a bit insane because of something that the TARDIS... you referred to this episode last night as the one where Susan goes a bit mental with scissors. It's a pretty straightforward story. It's the TARDIS. As we find out by the end, something is wrong. The TARDIS is trying to tell them that, so things are being warped. Like their emotions are being played with. Yeah. There's a console thing that keeps exploding. They've all forgotten things from before a certain period.
There's that weird water machine.
Weird. The water machine.
Yeah, this comes out in little packets.
Oh, you mean God, what's it called? It's the food thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really strange.
I should know the name of this. I'm actually annoyed. There'll be people yelling it, but I don't care.
Like a replicator almost.
Leave me alone, guys. I can't remember what it's called now, but yeah, the
food bank.
the bloody food thing about it. Yeah, it's the first introduction to that thing. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like how they get their food, what they eat and drink with. So,
why I remember that.
What was nice with this one is obviously there's mistrust, and the Doctor naturally decides that he and Susan must be innocent, even though Susan's acting really out of sorts. Mm-hmm. And Barbara and Ian are like, oh, blah, 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 and he nearly kicks them out, like, in the middle of nowhere, just because he wants to get rid of them and all this. But there's that lovely moment where the Doctor and Barbara really come to, like, near blows, like the proper thingy. And then at the end, there's that really nice scene where it's like he's too stubborn to admit that he was wrong, but he sort of says sorry by being there for her, and it's a really nice little moment between Jacqueline Hill and William Hartnell. Yeah. 3 episodes in, 3 stories in. What do you think of the Doctor overall and William Hartnell as a performer in the show? He's not quite the character you love yet, is he?
No, not at all.
But that twinkle's there.
Yeah, he's getting better. Being around
performance-wise, though, like, what do you think? Good performance, just not
he does have a few Billy fluffs though.
Yes, I've introduced Lucy to Billy fluffs, the bits where Hartnell forgets his line or fluffs a line, which again is admirable because based on the way that you have to work on this in that time thing, you've got to just keep going because it's quicker. Like it's like a play, you can't stop in a play and go, sorry, can we go again? You just carry on. But he obviously does it quite noticeably in a few places.
Chesterfield.
Well, in Daleks, the radiation gloves. And all that stuff, where he mentions the gloves and things like that. So there's
when he gets given scientific words to say, I think maybe he says them too fast and then he has to start again.
And he also he sort of like hammers home a sentence. If you can tell that he feels like he needs to move on from a brief fluff, he'll end that sentence with an extra sort of confident. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like he's going, "Your turn, quick, move on."
Yeah.
But it suits the character because it makes him seem a bit doddery for all of his pomp. He's still kind of. But the twinkle starts to show, especially in the last scene of this, that little twinkle in the eye. This isn't the only story on Edge. Did you like Edge of Destruction? The little mini detour that it was?
I did. No, I thought it would be one of the... I don't want to say one of the weaker ones, but...
I know what you mean. Like, it's not eventful.
There's always one of those episodes in pretty much all series where it all takes place in one place. It's not adventure.
Which can be brilliant. I mean, think of the Fly episode of Breaking Bad. Stuff like that.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. That, to me, was slightly boring. I was starting to lose interest.
I love that.
I know it was really well shot and it was really well
made.
The
ladder at the end where he nearly fesses up that he killed Thingy, let Thingy die.
But it gets to a point where it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, yeah, it's great, it's fun, nice. I'm falling asleep. This, I didn't feel that. I know it felt like it was going to be one of those, but it didn't end up being that for me.
Good to know. There was also there's also one other story on here that is incomplete and missing, but there's a half-hour reconstruction with telesnaps on here. Marco Polo. Now you're a big historical lass. You like your history, you like your museums. You really enjoyed Marco Polo, despite it being a 32-minute long slideshow with some audio played over it.
Ian is a boss. He's amazing. Honestly, no, these two companions are already my favourite.
Favourite?
Yeah.
Holy snap!
Because they're just so well written and they're so well performed that they just get straight in. If it's dangerous, yeah, okay, let's sort it out. Let's fix this problem. Let's go home.
Yeah.
And they just accept it. They don't whinge like, "Oh my god, not again, Doctor." No, the Doctor relies on them.
Also, Ian looks damn fine in the outfit he gets in this episode, so much so he keeps it for the rest of the Keys of Marinus.
Wears it a little too long.
Yeah, probably stinks. But yeah, we sort of only get snippets of Mark Eden's performance as Marco Polo and stuff in the reconstruction.
Yeah. I liked how it was done. I felt, you feel a bit disconnected from it, but I think they did it quite well. You gauged enough of the story to understand what was happening.
Well, as we go on, we're going to come up against a few in Hartnell's third season and a lot in Troughton's series. We're going to come up against quite a few where we only have pockets of them. But we have the Lost in Time DVD box set, so we're going to see as much as we can of the ones we can where we can. Can. Yes, we can. So there's that. But all the same, the telesnaps didn't take away from it. You're just cool, I get to see what the story's like.
The costumes were great.
Would you... obviously we've finished the season now, I've not asked you since, but by that point in the series, you told me that was your favourite. Does that still stand today? No.
You know which one's my favourite.
Oh, okay.
We
shall crack on. But you like Marco Polo?
Yes, it was very good, yeah.
Hey, so Edge of Destruction, Marco Polo, off your pop. Squires. Up next, the big old epic, Keys of Marinus. I say big old epic because it's, 6 episodes long. Every episode, apart from the first and the last, take place in a completely different location. There's cliffhangers aplenty.
There are.
And it's so epic, William Hartnell needed to lie down for 2 weeks. Goes off on vacation. 6 episodes. 6. So we had Sea of Death, which is where they first arrive there, and they meet... his name begins with A. What's his name? Hang on. Just going to get on me
Again.
Arbitan. They meet Arbitan, and he's basically like, "Hi, welcome to my planet. Sea of acid surrounding the island. We used to have a computer that forced people's free wills to be slightly warped so that they behave. Yeah. There's a species called the Vord that don't like that. They've come to take control of the machine for their own evil ends. I've hidden the pieces, but now I need them. My daughter's gone missing. Good luck finding her. If you don't find her, I won't let you get your shit. Bye." Yeah, so it's odd. It feels like a season arc, and it feels like a mini-series because every place is different. There's a few more stories like that to come, where each story has lots of different locations as part of an overall. Yeah. The chase and stuff is going to be like that. I'm interested to see what you think of the chase.
I've just realised, Susan being there, having a kid in it, it's like she runs out excited to see the new area and have a good adventure, and they all end up horrible and almost dying.
Or burning their shoes off.
And she goes to take her shoes off and have a little paddle.
Yeah.
And then her sock burns in the acid, and they're like, "Susan, no!" Ian!
Where are my giant wellies? Ian! But yeah, so
I like that little at the beginning of every episode. Nearly like there's always like a little bit where Susan's like,
did you think you'd reject the idea of a kid companion? Do you think it'd put you off before this?
Yeah. She does annoy me because I get easily annoyed.
But I think she annoys you like a kid would annoy you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the way you react to it doesn't seem to be like, oh, this gets on my wick. It's, oh god, kids are annoying, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So fair enough.
I like that.
What do we think about the various quests? Because the first one is the Velvet Web, where because they're basically, it's like the show's introduction to what eventually in the 2000s there's like time vortex manipulated, the idea of like time travel, but really you just you're there and and stuff. Barbara gets there slightly too early, and they find her in like basically a palace being waited on hand and foot, and these people are like, "Hey, we'll look after you. Yeah, well, I'll sort you out with your quests in the morning. In the meantime, have some beer, mate. Have a burger. Do you want a burger? I've got a grill on. Got the grill on some halloumi. I'll do some halloumi.
Awesome.
Halloumi. Halloumi. Terrible. But was the episode terrible? Because again, it's that reveal of the sort of brains in jars thing going on.
Now, having watched quite a few sci-fi things where that's used in a jokey way, I thought that was quite funny. Oh no, we've gone past the hilarious bit with the guys in the rubber suits and he gets knocked down that hole.
Oh, the Vord. Oh, they're in the last episode as well. So
that was very, very funny. We rewound that many times.
We did.
That was very funny. They don't. This episode is one where they use the music, is it?
Early on, there's not too much incidental music.
No,
I think by the time we get to the Aztecs, music's used a lot more.
Yeah.
Probably because they've saved the money to score properly.
So that makes it feel a little bit disjointed.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that story.
Stay part. Screaming Jungle happens. It's mostly Ian and Barbara off on a quest, fighting some very, very cheap but effective threat of bits of vine moving around.
Yeah.
And the old bloke with his magnificent beard. Screaming Jungle leads into the Snows of Death, aka 2 weeks of William Hartnell taking a breather, because it's a lot to do in your late 50s.
He went to find something else and then never found it.
Well, I think he did. I think he went to get another key, didn't he? And then he met them back at whatever that location was where the fifth story takes place. Snows of Death is where bloke with the cabin and the night. That's something that struck me. I'd seen this one before, because remember I was like, I'm sure I've seen this. We've only just opened the DVD, but I'm sure I've seen it. And I realised, because I've been lent a copy of it to talk about it for a time team like that, watch this column a few years ago. Just in the Snows of Death, the monsters that guard the key in the centre of the icy mountain are a bunch of knights who remain frozen until the key is taken, and then they defend the key. What a cool visual! Just a bunch. I mean, that's metal as sin. Do you know what I mean? Like deep in the mountains, the knights clad in their armour wield their swords and defend the key.
The only way to get the key is to melt it, and by melting it, you wake the lights up. I think that's a really cool idea.
Like you heat the room and it wakes them too. Yeah.
See, it's good writing.
Good stuff.
These stories were really good. I mean,
we're getting across the bridge sequence takes a while, but yeah. But like the guy's fate, they leave the guy to basically get chased down by the knights. Eventually, he's quite good. He's like, yeah, he's a bad guy. Let him get attacked. That's great. Then we get what's it called? Double check. Sentence of Death. The trial episode. That's really good, isn't it? And there's some genuine peril in that because, Susan, a teenage girl, is captured and then is going to be murdered, and everyone's fine with it. Did you see the twist in that comic? Because there's 3 twists in terms of who's involved and why it's happening in that one. Did you like that? Because I dig that one a lot.
Yeah.
For 21 minutes, or whatever, there's a lot going on in that episode.
I'm quite good at figuring out twists and things, but this one I don't think I did.
It's the fact that they out the guy in court. And it's but the guy above him who's like, oh, well, I guess it's been solved, is also in on it. And you're like, oh, shit. Oh, no, it's not going to get resolved. Yeah. For a, 54-year-old story. And then obviously it wraps up with the Keys of Marinus itself, which is a lot of the Vord and their terrible disguise. Like the leader of the Vord just in a cloak. And not a single one of them questions, why does Arbitan suddenly have a giant head? And a black plastic mouth.
I liked the helmets.
Yeah, well, we sort of interpreted them as helmets, didn't we? Yeah. Just because there's not really any sort of big feature or attempt to make them toothy or anything like that. So that's kind of cool. It's like the Predator or something. Yeah. This is just what they wear.
But it was just a wet.
Are the flippers their feet or is that flippers? That's the question.
I think that was just their shoe choice.
What do you think of the Keys of Marinus? Do you like the Keys of Marinus?
Yes. A little too long.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think the quest keeps it varied enough.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Like, it's. I think at this point, because obviously I've dabbled in Who over the years and everything. Like, I think at this point, your brain was making your mind up about what length stories you prefer, which is why the next 4-episode epic may have been more appealing. But also, it's a Barbara story.
Barbara is Bae.
The Aztecs. Barbara. Oh, God.
Barbara. I can't believe I just said that. I do apologize.
What do you think of the Aztecs? I'm going to check the battery. Tell the people what you thought of the Aztecs.
I freaking love this story. You said this was... Did you say this was one of your favourites? Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm just checking. Good. Yeah, I love the Aztecs. Is one of my favourite Doctor Who serials ever.
This could be my favourite... One of my favourite stories of Doctor Who that I've ever seen.
Really?
It was amazing. I would watch this again right now.
All right.
Having only just watched it.
Bye, everyone. We're going to put it back on.
Let's go.
I mean, I love it so much that that's the second version of it I've owned.
Really?
Yeah, that I bought the standard edition, and then when the special edition came out, I think this was in one of the box set re-releases. I might be wrong. So quick peeky, ooh, little peeky.
The characters are so.
Oh no, yes, an additional. I bought that separately. Yeah.
I can't even fall into words how much I love Barbara.
Really?
Yeah.
So what did you think about the scene in this where she's like, look, I'm going to try and dissuade them from...
Again, it's a classic... running out of the bloody TARDIS.
But it's a classic story of...
Elastic on her or something.
But it's a classic story... like a lot of the top
Yeah, God.
And Barbara as well, like if she hadn't fiddled and taken the bracelet, then they would have been killed for trespassing. It's a classic story of like... I mean, one of your favourite movies is The Road to El Dorado.
Oh, I love that.
This is basically the second act of The Road to El Dorado, because Aztec Incan setting,
Mighty and
powerful gods. Like, it's turning legend into fact. But it's basically that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically that. But she's like, right, if I can dissuade them from sacrifice... maybe I can change the Aztecs' entire thing, and it's spread. And if I do that, all those thousands of deaths over the years that the Aztecs were you know, like their
it
society
doesn't affect the gods, so stop it.
Yeah, but as the Doctor points out in the story, in that brilliant scene where you cannot rewrite history, not one line.
Yeah,
and it's the first time you're kind of challenged because this is the second. The third past-based story, third historical, after Unearthly Child and Marco Polo. But it's the first time where they might actually change things if they're not careful. And the Doctor's like, don't. Now, they contradict that 2 stories later by suggesting that time will always correct itself. But it works better in this because you believe it. He's not just being an arsehole to her. He's being an arsehole because he's like, stop doing what you're doing. Yeah. But you also completely get why she's trying to do it. She's a history teacher. She knows how senseless the deaths were.
She's the god Yetaxa.
False goddess!
I am really historically awfully renowned for forgetting people's names. I'm not going to remember anybody's name.
Yeah, Lucy can't remember names. Like, she could meet someone and 2 minutes later be like, I have no idea what their name is. Which happens to all of us. But you could then say what their name is to you and you'd go, no, is that right? I'm not sure. You do it with films. You do it with like your favourite actors. You'd be like, oh god, thingy.
And I love him.
Oh god, Django, Jamie Foxx. No, the other guy, Christoph Waltz. The one who was in Inspector. That's Christoph Waltz. Oh yeah. Although you wouldn't forget Christoph Waltz's name.
No,
you totally fancy him.
I don't fancy him. I don't.
A little bit.
Yeah, a bit.
A little bit.
No.
What have you become?
Don't stop.
Another SNL reference.
But yeah, I'm really, really bad with names. But I have remembered Yetaxa.
Yetaxa.
Throughout since we've watched it, we just
considering he was your favourite character in the story, though. Can you remember the villain's name? Tlatoxel. Yes. Get in. Tlatoxel.
Fantastic.
Gets his big old close up. John Ringham was the actor.
He was great.
Ortlock's good as well, and Ixter, like all the parts, like the stuff with the deciding the champion of who's going to lead the soldiers and everything.
Ian with his Vulcan decorator.
Yeah, well, that's brilliant. I could take you down with my thumb, and I was like, no, you can't. It fucking does. It's great. I said frickin'. But it's great. It's brilliantly done. Highlighting it made it worse.
Hey,
it's YouTube. What do you expect? But like that's just brilliant. And by this point, you realise Ian's the rough and tumble. Barbara's the cool-headed one, although in this she's making probably a wrong call for the right reasons, but a wrong call. Susan's the one who gets into trouble, although by this point she's kind of handling herself a bit more.
Yeah,
the doctor's subplot.
She don't need no man.
And to the point where they're like, we're going to marry you off. And she's like, no, you're not. And they're like, right, well, we're going to kill you now. He's like, oh, damn it. But the doctor's subplot in this story is flipping wonderful.
It is so sweet. Oh.
It's just the, now we're married.
that
gasping shot.
That moment is fantastic.
It's brilliant. And you can tell that he's actually a bit... Like, she's genuinely saddened. She feels like she's met someone... She believes him to be the servant of your taxa. But, like, she's sort of, like, saddened by the notion they're not going to see each other again. Yeah. And you get the sense that he is too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really sweet.
I think it was such a strong story. There was never a moment where I was thinking, oh, I'm lost interest a little bit now. Because I like to do things when I watch things. And
Lou's big on crochet and cross-stitching and knitting and stuff. What's your Instagram?
Oh.
Lucy Crafty Crafts?
Lucy Crafty Crafts, a little dash.
Lucy Crafty Crafts! Little underscore underscore under each one. Yeah. Lucy Crafty Craft. Buy stuff, it's great. She makes teddy bears and Mr. Meeseeks and all kinds of good stuff.
I do make
but yeah, you tend to watch these, and you're always making something while we're watching.
Yeah, because I can't not do things with my hands.
You kept putting stuff down during this.
I did because it was just so enticing, and that I couldn't look away from it. It was so interesting.
No,
I just didn't want to miss a moment. It was great.
Worth the peek at the special features as well if you've got the special edition, because in the making of there was that series of production stills in full colour. We had to pause. You were blown away by that. By the costumes.
The costume was just, it was so villainous. It was amazing.
All the reds and the dashes around it.
And his eye makeup made a massive difference. And his greasy, curly hair. I've got to say, for Aztecs, they were very white. Not that you could see it in black and white, really, but...
Just like the cavemen were all very well groomed.
Yeah, it's quite clean.
Yeah, it's almost like all the actors from theatrical companies in the west of London.
Yeah,
but they're all really good. The Aztecs.
My favourite so far.
Yeah, bosh. Well, moving on then to, I'm guessing this is your least favourite of the series. This is the Sensorites.
Oh,
I've not seen this one before.
Could have run a marathon through this. It's so long.
It takes ages. The Sensorites...
I did stop watching at one point because...
It's an amazing setup.
Even at one point you said, this is the story where you could probably do something and not pay attention and still know what's going on.
Yeah, because hardly anything happens after a point. So they're arriving a spaceship that's stuck in orbit, that's not getting any closer to these set of planets, even though it's apparently its course. And there are two crew members, just double check the names, two crew members who are sort of frozen in a living death. So, is it John and Carol?
Yeah, so they're unconscious.
Or is John the one who's in the other room?
John is the one that's behind the...
Oh no, it's Captain Maitland and Carol. And they're in a state of living death, but they're awoken by the Doctor and his friend's arrival. Yeah, they're like they wake up, and basically they know that every time they get closer to the planet, the things on the planet on the Sensphere, the Sensorites, sort of like turn them off. It's like they put them in this state of hibernation. It's like they don't want them to leave, but they're not letting them any closer. And it's driven their fellow crew member John insane, essentially. And that was a great idea. Like when Barbara and Susan went to that part of the ship, they were like, "Oh God, we've got to get them out of there." It's like, why? It's because John's in there and he's stumbling around, just screaming and clutching his head. What a genuinely creepy idea! And then 3 episodes of a bunch of bald, hairy testicles with grey jumpers happens. Yeah. Do you know what? This is my first time watching the Sensorites, and it disappointed me just because the aliens were just conspiratorial busybodies, and it was all about hierarchy and stuff. And it was like we had the Aztecs, so we had like priests and chiefs and things like that, and political stuff in there. We had that in Keys of Marinus with the sentence of death. Those episodes. Do you know what I mean? It was like we've had this. Let's have something a bit more out there. Like the first 2 episodes are spooky and weird.
I was just going to say, it seems
when the Sensorite appears at the window, it's spooky.
It's not. It's hilarious.
It's kind of hilarious in the shot, but it's still spooky in that it's just like it's at the window. It's outside the spaceship, looking through the window. That's spooky.
It was very funny.
Spooky face, but it was hilarious. It was unintentionally funny, but it's meant to be spooky, and it's spooky in that way.
Yes, yeah.
And then it's just a lot of Sensorites bickering and story of poisoned water. And
they all look the same, which they say in the episode, because that's a big point, isn't it? But then they also sound the same, so I struggled a little bit because I wasn't paying 100% attention to figure out what was happening.
And which Sensorite was which.
Who are you? You're all creepy to look at. I'm just going to carry on making this better.
And again, it didn't... And again, it didn't help that we've had 2 stories with, like, people in the lower positions of government or the religion or whatever trying to overthrow those above it. And it's just like, we've had this for 3 stories in a row now.
There was that good moment, though, where they're trying to accuse the Doctor of killing that important Sensorite.
Yeah.
And they catch him out by saying that he was wearing a cloak.
Yeah.
He wasn't, because he'd just been given it.
Because there was that, he's down in the chambers,
oh.
and you get the idea that there's a creature in the chambers, and later on you realise, no, it wasn't, though, it was another crew.
Yeah.
It was the other crews that just got abandoned and, again, been going insane. That's a cool idea, but it was just like, why is there a beast suddenly? Well, then we find out there isn't a beast,
why would they attack him like that?
Because they were like John was in the tunnel, the corridors in the ship. They'd been left alone and were going mental. Yeah, because remember when Ian and the Doctor are confronted by them, they're like, it's going to be okay. Like, they were Chris Pratt in it. They had their little clicker out. But yeah, so
all in all,
fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. But don't worry, we'll get to the sequel, Planet of the Ood.
That's what it makes
70,000 episodes. Well, they are.
That's what they're based on.
Yeah, because the Ood are in Possible Planet and Satan Pit. But then Planet of the Ood Series 4, they live on the Ood Sphere. That's where they are. Sort of like grown and stuff, and then they mention the Sensphere in that episode as well. So,
really?
So those stories are linked, sort of connected. We come now to the season 1 series Uno finale, the historical, the Reign of Terror. What do we think of the Reign of Terror? We finished this just last night.
I enjoyed it.
Again, this is my first time watching this one too.
I really enjoyed this one.
You dug it. What stood out for you? What was your favourite? Because Barbara and Susan get sidelined a bit in this. Yeah. They're mostly just kind of there. Like they certainly have some emotional stakes and a bit of an arc in the episode, but it's mostly down to Ian and the Doctor to carry the story. In fact, this is probably the first episode where the Doctor is flat out sort of the hero,
the lead in it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, he doesn't save the day completely. Like we've got some Scarlet Pimpernel stuff going on.
He tries his best. Yeah. That's what he does.
He bloody well does. He bloody well does.
I really liked it purely for his hat.
Well, that's the thing. Like you find out that it's the fact that at the end of the last story, the end of the Sensorites decides, right, that's it. No, I'm done with you. This is ridiculous. I'm sending you back home, and he takes him to Earth, and then his stubbornness stops him from even checking to make sure it's definitely like Earth 1963.
We will get to that later.
We'll get to that later. 2 years later. The Prince said it's wonderful. So. Yeah, and Ian and Barbara basically have to sort of trick him out of just, playing on his stubbornness to go out with them, just in case, so that he's not dumping them in a random country in the middle of nowhere in a different year. And it's a good job they do, because it turns out they're in the middle of the French Revolution, and people are getting pillaged and burned at the stake and everything. The Doctor is guillotined specifically. The Doctor is nearly burned alive, though, in the hideout, the farmhouse that they spend time in.
Small child rescued.
That's a great cliffhanger, though, because it's really horrible. Because, again, to viewers watching this show, they know the Doctor's an alien, but he's just an old man. Like, there's no, at this point, and even behind the scenes, there's no thought going into he might survive, because he might change and save his life. That's not how it works. No. He's an old man trapped in a burning house. It's really scary to watch. And we chose to leave it there that night, so that was the cliffhanger for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Because we're horrible.
We just like to feel.
His interactions we just like to feel.
Yeah.
Touch. I remember touch. So the kid actor's nice, and the Doctor and the kid get a few really nice little moments together. What
was the kid's name?
Little Billy or something. I don't know. What was the kid's name?
Or something.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Probably Small Boy. He's listed as.
Oh, I think he told him his name.
Small Boy.
Maurice.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Lumiere.
Yeah, the Doctor's saved by a young boy, so he's a small boy. But this story introduces us to specifically like Webster and Jean and all these Jules, like all these characters who were part of the big conspiratorial stuff. The story is basically the story of like the secret double life stuff that's going on between English agencies and the French, and like it's the Scarlet Pimpernel is like the main inspiration for the story, but they don't like outright go into that. However, Robespierre is a big part of it because it's historical. His unfortunate final
10 points if you know.
really scary fate is what?
10 points if you know what that's from.
I didn't even hear it.
It's just me being,
There was an idiot talking over you.
Yeah.
Oh god. It's probably Moulin Rouge.
It was absolutely not Moulin Rouge.
Anastasia?
No, Anastasia.
I don't know.
That's in Russia, you dingus.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Alright. And it is. And we'll get to that.
Singing
and okay. If I'd said something else, I probably would have joined in.
Yes, yes, yes.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. And most of the views of this will be like, "What's Singing in the Rain?
Watch
it! You're watching this? Come on, watch Singing in the Rain."
Brighten your life.
It's wonderful.
It is spectacular.
Make
Anyway,
'em laugh.
back to what were we talking about? Oh,
The Reign of Terror, mate. Come on, get on it.
Sorry.
Climb aboard, my boy.
Soz.
Climb aboard. Yes.
That's a really good question. You practiced that.
What? Twiddling my thumb while holding a lapel. He trades his clothes in just for this, but that's a nice little touch as well.
Mm.
Susan makes mention of, this is grandfather's favourite period in human history, and Bob was like, oh, like really?
Weird.
But you can tell because he's like, right, I'm going to go and save them. I need a disguise, and you know full well he's going to keep every damn item of clothing that he took.
And that's what I like. He's fully like disguised, wanting to help them get out.
Yeah,
and I think that's such a massive change in the Doctor.
Well, I mean, even at the start of the story, he's trying to get rid of them. So, like, you can tell that he does have a duty of care to a point where he's like, oh, go on then. Because he's never just like, I need to save my granddaughter. He's like, I need to save them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he feels responsible for the situation a bit by this point.
So he should.
How did you find the animated episodes? Because 2 of the episodes of this are lost forever, apart from the soundtracks. So they were animated here. This was an animation style that I don't recall seeing in any of the other reconstructions that I didn't care for very much.
No,
it was partly hand-drawn, but it was mostly CGI.
When they didn't move, it looked great.
Yeah.
But, you know that thing that's a massive dealio now, where it's like an emoji thing, I don't know, where...
like filters on Snapchat and Instagram.
Yeah, you move your mouth and this emoji looks like what you're doing. It looked like that, and it was really creeping me out.
Like they'd created CGI puppets.
Yeah.
And then basically programmed it so that the software would react to the sound of the dialogue. So it wasn't like each movement had not been, and this is probably a very cost-effective way of doing it, but the movement was not choreographed or mapped out frame by frame. Mm. So it felt that apart from the clearly hand-drawn bits, which looked quite nice when they happened, like when characters would stand up and stuff, and it was obviously a very specific hand-drawn shot, but then the faces would be these... Do you know what it looked like? It looked like if Thunderbirds were being made through a Snapchat filter.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, be done.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they had that sort of generic kind of like, the head moved a bit and bobbed, and the mouth just sort of moved when it was talking.
The Doctor's neck disappeared, I mean... All kind
because I think a couple of them were based on specific stills, and they just kind of turned that into a puppet.
Weird.
It looked odd, but
Barbara looked really old, and I know she's not old.
Yeah,
so, guys, come on.
And it did mean we got to see all of the sequences between the Doctor and the jailer complete, which were some of the most fun interactions. I think in the show so far, those scenes were some of my favourite. Yeah, because you just felt so sorry for this jailer, but you also were like, you kind of wanted him to see. You didn't want him to get beheaded, but you wanted him to at least get what was coming to him because he was such an arsehole. Especially because Barbara like immediately slaps him in the first episode. Yeah. So that was the fun stuff. When the supporting characters are interesting, I think it makes the stories flow quicker. They get really good when Robert Holmes comes on the scene. Supporting characters become like one of the show's best things. Because suddenly these supporting characters get really flushed out, and they usually come in pairs, and we'll get to that. Series like 8 onwards and whatnot. So yeah, Reign of Terror. Anything else you want to say about Reign of Terror? Anything else you loved or hated, or ooh?
I just loved that hat.
You really do love that hat.
It was great. It made a lasting impact on me.
No, yes.
And he clearly loved it.
Yeah, you can tell Hartnell. Apparently, behind the scenes, he was very difficult on this. It was a very difficult production.
It was quite difficult to work with in general, wasn't it?
Yeah, But it doesn't...
They said that in the behind the scenes for the... there's a little documentary about the
Aztecs.
Aztecs, yeah.
So, Series 1 of Doctor Who, what did you think overall?
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah?
I've felt quite disconnected from Doctor Who in the last couple of years because to me, it's become less of an adventure for the whole family. It's become more just for that handful of fans that just are completely obsessed with it.
But even then, like, it's not appealing to them. Like, I mean, look at me.
It thinks it's appealing to
and I've really, I've had a real dislike of it for the last like 4 odd years. I like chunks of Series 10. I like the road it was on, and then the Monk 3-part happened, and I lost interest again.
Yeah. I mean, the Tumblr fans. It's more dedicated to what they think I think in the last couple of years.
Like, which I don't think is specifically like Tumblr fans.
No.
That modern fandom mentality, rather than focusing on making a good program.
Yeah, it's just not how it used to be. And that the fact that in shops the toys have sold so terribly. Doesn't that
even,
just go to
even collector stores like Forbidden Planet? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Forbidden Planet. We just collect Planet.
Yeah. But like if Forbidden Planet Manchester, it used to be a whole wall, and now it's a little column on one of the pillars.
And you'd always go in and the big head's empty because something sold so quickly.
Like I
mean, you have a lot of them, and there's people out there that have even more. Maybe I was one of those people that had some.
Yeah,
so,
you would like the Doctor and Donna
and
I
would actually go and buy them myself.
Yeah.
Because I love the stories that much. And we just like collecting tabs.
Yeah, I guess you can't tell.
Can you tell? You should see the rest of our house.
You can see these guys back here. Yeah, you can. Yeah. But yeah. So this has sort of renewed your taste in the show a bit.
It really has.
As a series, do you think that's a fun way for it to begin?
Yes. It didn't feel like it was the end of a series, though.
Oh yeah, no. Well, as far as it went, the last episode of Reign of Terror was 12th of September 1964. So this is nearly a year's worth of TV, and then it comes back with Planet of Giants. I think that's what that's what it's called. Planet of Giants. It came back 5 weeks later on Halloween.
At the end of the episode, it says next episode.
Planet of Giants.
It's like, oh, this is the end of a series. I was a bit confused when you told me that it was. It was like, oh.
Well, we're going to crack on with Series 2 of Doctor Who very soon.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I love, like I said, the beginning of Unearthly Child. I enjoy the Daleks. I really like Edgy Destruction. I hadn't watched the Marco Polo reconstruction, so that was nice to do. Keys of Marinus I enjoy. Aztecs is one of my absolute favourites. The Sensorites, I'm glad we've watched it, but I'm not in a rush to rewatch that one. And Reign of Terror was a lot of fun too. The thing is, because I've seen so much of the show throughout the decades, I know what years are my favourite. So my excitement now is, I'm getting a warm, cosy feeling from watching these. But my excitement now is sort of side-eyeing you whilst we're watching it to see what your reactions are going to be to certain stories and certain things. And for this series, it was the Aztecs I wanted to see a reaction, and an Unearthly Child. Now, obviously, when I say we watched the complete first series, it wasn't complete. One of them was a recon, and it was one you were quite fond of. So considering you can't watch Marco Polo, I bought you a little present the other day.
No, you did.
I was in London, friend of the show. Say show like it exists, Crystal D, and I went to the Who shop for the first time in London, and I got hold of this pretty mint condition copy of the original Target book of Marco Polo.
I bet it smells great.
It probably does. It also cost quite a bit for a Target book because it's one of the harder ones to find, and it's yours. So you can have the whole story at some point when you get a chance to have a little read.
Is that meant to be Ian on the front?
No, that's Marco Polo.
Oh right, good. I was going to say, wow.
I picked myself up a present. I got myself a present as well. I got Dogs in the Autumn Invasion, but yeah. So I thought there you go. Actually, have the complete thing.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
So whack it in.
Does the Doctor get his caravan back? We must find out.
The complete series 1 of Doctor Who! That's what we thought of it. If you've seen all of these stories, let us know down in the comments below what your favourites are, and any predictions for what you think Lucy and myself are going to think for stories we've both not seen from Series 2 of Doctor Who. This is going to be fun. Don't expect it to be coming out on a regular schedule. It'll come out when it comes out.
It's a full-time job.
Yay! Goodbye! Goodbye!
Good who? Who? You! And me.